You're up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session 0 of the Hymns of the Heretics campaign, a Cult Divinity Lost story. We have a group gathered today to talk about um, who our characters are, where they are, why they are, and we'll get into some of the cool and interesting mechanics that we're going to explore this in this campaign. So um, let's start with introductions. Um, my name is Sipakli. I go by Shisho on the Discord. I go by they, them, and I would love to hear everybody's name, your pronouns, and what your experience has been playing Cult Divinity Lost.
I can go first.
Okay.
Um, so my name is Robin. I go by she, her. And as far as my experience, it's been interesting. Just a little bit of cannibalism so far. A little bit of craziness, but I'm looking forward to doing a longer campaign.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that actually brings up a good point for folks watching now or in the future. Um, Remember that Cult Divinity Lost is a setting that covers some serious themes. So, as a content warning, we might be talking about some stuff that might be not safe for work, including topics like family violence, religious bigotry, mental illness, the occult, death and dying, illness, body horror, spiritual abuse and manipulation, emotional abuse, and the occasional cannibalism. So, perfect. Thank you, Robin. Who's next?
Fill off after Robin since I'm here. My name is Cody. You might see me as Marinek in the server. Pronouns are he, him. Robin and I are married, which is basically my big plus, is that I bring Robin with me. Other than that, I played cults in By Their Fruits with Shisho last campaign. I was a victim of medical experiments. I grew some extra arms. Those arms got eaten. Looking forward to what hell my new character faces.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so there's a little bit of I mean, there's a little bit of a masochism I think that is involved in playing in a cult campaign because you do expect your character to go through it in one way or another. So that's interesting. Okay. Who's next?
I'll go.
Hmm.
My name is Kimmy. I go by she, her, and my cult experience, I think I'm the only one that Shisho has murdered in the game so far.
That's
Because I,
did you die in that first one?
I did.
Oh yeah, Kimmy was was one of the two first um experiment guinea pigs, along with Elizabeth, who's in the chat right now. And Yeah, that was a scary one. Oh, Andy, you played in that too.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, they're the only one that survived in the end was I think Liz.
Hmm.
Everyone else died horribly.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Who's next?
I'll go. Andy, my pronouns are he, his. On the Discord server, I go by Andy M. I've played in that very first sort of test run of Cult, and I really enjoyed being in By Their Fruits. And I thought it was really cool to show how you set up Kimmy's character in that campaign as sort of antagonistic, at least for a time, with the other characters. That was cool. But I really love this RPG for the way it lets you really sort of lose yourself in the story and not worry about the mechanics so much, which I really love. Yeah,
Cool.
thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that about it too. And I think that's also one of the interesting things of Cult is it does give you an opportunity to do some like slight antagonism between characters, because everyone's agenda is a little bit different, right? And I think part of character creation is having an agenda. Like, why are you meddling with the shit that you're meddling with, right? So, all right, cool. And we got one more.
I'm John, he, him. Well, I'll never be him. But I played in the. I can't remember the title. I'm bad with names. My character's name was Nico. I was a neoliberal scumbag who was basically the most important person of the family, and it wasn't his opinion that that was the case. It seemed like everybody else kind of hero worshipped him or hated him because of his awesomeness. Eventually, he ran away like a coward and sold the burned down house. Not burned by me, Andy. Okay. Sold the burned down house and property to, I think, the wrong church, or was it the right church?
Honey,
the wrong
there's
church.
no right, there's no right in cult.
Yeah.
So
it was one of the churches. One of them had angels, and one of them had not angels. It was an interesting end, and yeah, definitely very exciting one shot.
I think, yeah, there's really no right answer, and as a result of the events of that game, a portal ruptured into the Inferno, and demons were spilling into East Texas. So nice. In a way, it did help the folks of the Buy Their Fruits story, because they got to go in and burn down their. Oh, another burning. That's the third burning.
It's not gonna be me. It's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna be that guy.
So we'll see if this ends in fire again.
And Andy,
I was that guy. I burnt down the Kult compound last time,
Okay.
so
it
it's
was
okay.
Cody this time.
Thank you.
It was so sad.
It's very good when things end in fire rather than start in fire. Just my opinion.
Exactly.
That's an
Also depends on who's setting the fire.
It was in Andy's game's case, it was a drug-addled individual who had been broken mentally due to multiple encounters with the occult. One with a necromancer, and one with well, there was a bear that I drove a car through. The bear wasn't supposed to be walking and talking like a person.
What the fuck?
It was Call of Cthulhu.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
She was mentally broken when I set my fires, so
There you
you're
go.
in good company.
There you go.
Dan, what's your excuse? Okay. So,
Sorry, hold on.
oop,
I
we got a
didn't
little.
see Zach pop.
Okay, and we have our sixth player, Zach, joining. Zach, you know everybody here. Do you want to share? But we are streaming, so do you want to share your name, your pronouns, and what your experience has been with Cult?
Sure. Name is Zach. Generally, he, him pronouns. And my experience is playing with you in a single game previously. We did a short, not quite one shot. It was like 5 sessions, and really enjoyed it. So, very excited to get started again.
Awesome, beautiful. Yeah. So for those not in the know, this iteration will be a little bit lengthier. I'm aiming for 20 sessions, maybe, just to kind of flesh out our story a little bit more. Now that we've gotten some a bit of practice underway. Okay, great. So let's get started a little bit. One of the things that I really wanted to explore in this in this iteration of Cult is like this fascination that I've developed with real life situations where people claim to or allege to have had revelations from God. And they'll write a book about their visions, and the book will be like a bestseller, and then people that read the book will have revelations. And so for me, that begs the question, right? Like in a world like Cult, that could very well be real, or it could be a manipulation, or are they just mentally ill? It also like there's this relationship between greed and faith that I kind of want to explore too. And I'm also very interested in like apocryphy and heresy. So there are so many, like, to me as somebody who like grew up in a very secular way, like the way that religions differ from each other to me is very fascinating and strange. Like the concepts of unity versus a trinity, right? Like
Hmm.
some denominations of Christians believe that there's like a threefold Godhead, like the majority of like mainline Protestants versus like Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses who believe that there's like a unified God and that's it, right? So, I mean, that's interesting to me. And like, what if we could like extrapolate and dig into these kind of minute ways that we're different from one another, but ground them in the terror of cults, of like these sort of under the surface hidden secrets that are like terrifying, but then all, like what if that forms our religion in some way? I thought that would be interesting. So I'm curious, everyone has had some experience in cult. What are your curiosities? Is there anything that you are interested in exploring through your character or through the story? Anything that comes to mind?
One thing that I've been considering with my character, um, is making him younger and pursuing sort of an online indoctrination path for him, how radicalization happens, and how those avenues kind of develop into an identity, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So with the laborer, my goal is to kind of, I don't know, explore that headspace and see where that takes the character. But that's kind of the starting point that I'm working from, is that hardcore Christian dominionism radicalism that happens through like far right spaces in the internet, like 4chan and
Interesting, yeah.
those places.
Yeah, like one of the yeah, I mean there are really interesting there's like a really interesting case or whatever
Hmm.
of like this one it's like a forum for like preppers, folks who
Yes.
want to like stockpile food and fuel and be
Hmm.
prepared for the end of the world. And so and that's like a hotbed for
Radicalism,
fundamental
both left
and
and right.
but like also like religious like a
Yep.
lot of those people are having visions of the end of the world. That's what's really interesting and scary to
Hmm.
me. And like what if their visions are real?
Right.
So yeah, cool, interesting, I like that. Anybody else have any themes that come to mind that they're curious about exploring?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So it seems like one of the differences between these characters and the characters in the last sort of campaign is that those characters were already indoctrinated into the cult and its kind of beliefs, whereas these new characters not so much. Am I right about that?
Well, I would say this. Part of the conceit of our story is that every character is part of the same church.
Right.
Whether or not you want to consider that church a cult, is up to your analysis. But
So I don't know enough
Tomato,
about the
tomato,
church to say, right? I mean,
so there will be characters that are part of the story that have drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, about the church that they belong to, and some that are not. And now what is different about your characters from Oh, okay. The other thing is that this church that you're a part of is considered by the greater society and the greater culture to just be another church.
Right,
It's
right,
not like God's Lovely Servants where there was like a compound
right.
where, you were walled off from the rest of the world. Like you can go down to like Bucky's, and buy a Slurpee and like you don't have to sit yeah, like you don't have to eat the vegetables that are being grown in the compound, right? The other thing is that you're all unaware, everyone in the story is fully unaware of the the truth, right? Like,
Right, right. And that's kind of part of what I wanted to get at is that
yes.
uh in some ways these characters are more innocent than the other characters. And for my character, I think that he is going through a crisis of faith in terms of his relationship with what appears to be a fairly traditional church and belief system. And I really want to, like, I'm interested in what does that look like in relation to what we know about the world of Cult, where like Cthulhu, we know that behind the veil of reality there's something else back there that's really kind of horrible and scary. So like it's this struggling with faith in like a normal in the traditional sense, but then what happens when that person encounters something else but behind that reality.
I think that's awesome. Yeah, I think Crisis of Faith is another great theme that kind of it sort of dovetails in because that's another movement right now, I think, in the world is like the deconstruction of faith, right? People are looking at what they have been taught and going, well, I don't know if this is really it. But what happens if you get to that point and you're like, oh no, like my world is shaky. I don't really know what's true and what isn't. And what you find at the bottom of the barrel is not like human secularism. It's like disturbing and
Divinity.
scary.
Or
Right. It's
if you're in that
divinity.
shaky, right, if
Yes.
you're in that shaky space and the veil drops and you
Right.
see the horror behind, what happens then?
Right. Exactly.
Right, right,
Cool.
right.
I love it.
Thanks.
I think I can kind of piggyback off of
Mhm.
everybody else so far. So Andy and I are siblings, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
Is that our relationship? So my character, I had my crisis of faith in the last campaign. So this time I want to go the whole opposite end of the spectrum, not only be like completely having drank the Kool-Aid of this new religion, but also pushing people into it as well. I had this idea of like a almost alt-right, like mind body holistics, like alt religious podcaster trying to push people into this religion.
Mhm.
And like the idea of the prepper and like getting to that point of like complete paranoia that like this faith is the only thing that makes sense now.
Mhm.
I don't know how that happens to somebody, but I want to find out.
Well, it sounds like that would be a lot of tension between our two characters then. If
Absolutely.
Well, and also like the apocalypse obsession, right? Like the end of the
Mm-hmm.
world is coming. And it's like, yeah, sure, the end of the world is coming, hun. But then like once you pierce the veil, it's like, oh shit, back in East Texas, they opened a door into the inferno. So maybe the
Mm-hmm.
end is coming, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. I also wrote down missionary and missionaryism. I think that's like, pushing your evangelizing your faith. It's kind of, yeah, it's an interesting theme too.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
So, theming off of that,
Mhm.
I think my character is more um, kind of a normal person. And what I mean by that is anybody who's been involved in churches will understand that it's very much about in group thinking. Like, it's not about. Um, I mean, obviously, there's the ritual, there's the practice. Like, you
Mhm.
kind of go through the motions, you sing the songs, you listen to the guy say the same thing over and over again at the podium to kind of reaffirm it. And so I think my character is just the one who shows up because that's what's been expected of him to do. And so he believes in God, but it's not like he, you know, works at it. It's not like he's a person who is very focused in his faith. He listens, but it's not really something that kind of sinks in. It's more or less that he's heard it 1,000 times before. He, understands that he believes it, but he's not committed like some of you folks sound like, or some of you
Some
should
of you
be.
freaks.
Some of you should be. But he works. He works hard, and he's very investigative. He's very curious. But not about church, because when he was young and he asked questions, I'm sure anybody who's been in a religious settings felt this. If you ask questions, you're basically instructed to not do that,
Yeah.
because
Like, shut the fuck up.
pay attention, listen to what's being said. That's the thing you're learning, right? Um, but then you ask to figure out why that's the case, and there's no answers because it's faith based. It's very much the case.
Right.
So he is traditionally mindseted when it comes to the faith, but he is not a true believer. He is a believer. He's not a skeptic about his faith because he just never has been curious about that. Instead, he's focused on questions he can find the answers for, and that's like his journalistic work. And so I think we discussed that somewhere at some point in the journalist's history, there's a rub between him and the faith, and so like they don't like him and are ostracizing him, and to him it's very much an understanding, like a lack of understanding rather, as to why this is happening. Because I mean, he pictures himself as a good Christian guy.
Yeah.
Like, he goes to church every Sunday. He tithes 10%. He does what he's got to do, or what he was taught that he has to do. But he's not like fully on board, and all that. His politics are probably less. Like there's less of a gravity to it. He doesn't really care about voting, or he understands both sides, which is a weird thing I just said. I'm sorry.
The centrist. Got it.
He's not a no.
Well, he's
Yeah.
not. It sounds like he's a centrist, but he's not a radical centrist. Like, he doesn't make it part of his identity, but it kind of seems like that's the washout in the end.
It's mostly like I think. Okay, so like in real life, like some people get ground down to the nub, like by politics, and just don't want to hear anybody talk about it. I don't think my character is to the state where there's actually like a level of depression involved in that. I think it's more a situation where he knows he's powerless to do anything about that kind of stuff, and he just like he'll walk away from a conversation that
Doesn't
gets
engage.
into it.
I got it.
Yeah.
I hear you. So I think like what's interesting and special about this angle or theme is that for me, I've heard that all my life about the people around me, people that I'm close to, people who do go to church every Sunday, and then they say like, my grandma, my aunt, my uncle, they're crazy. They like want to do this and that and the other. And like, I just want to go to church. I want to sing in the choir. I want to like, learn about Jesus, and then I want to go home and like just live a normal life. I don't want to go on a mission. I don't want to knock on doors. I don't want to like have this very strict. Oh, and I want to get into this later too. Is I want y'all to come up with some of these prohibitions, because I think that's one of the interesting and difficult things about a very restrictive religion is like the prohibitions. Something that fascinates me is like prohibitions on masturbation, because I'm like, it's like medically this very like normal thing, but in many religious like contexts it's like evil, right? Like, you will burn in hell. And so I'm curious I think it's cool, John, to have that angle of like someone that like just wants to go to church, hear about Jesus, go home,
As a quick
and that doesn't necessarily, yeah.
As a quick counter, though, my character cranks it. Like, I just want to make sure that that's clear.
I
That's
want
what
this
I'm
on
saying.
record on stream right
Yeah,
now.
my character
Pounds that thing. He beats the
beats
shit
it
out
like
of
it
that
owes
monkey.
its money.
You know?
Owes him money. No, okay, sorry. Focusing back up.
I just had to make that clear real
I
quick.
just want to make sure you folks at home know. My character is okay. So serious face.
Oh my God.
I don't think my character is someone who would be like situationally concerned about the taboos. Like, I think what he has kind of come to is like church is church, home is home, like, you know, work is work. And so these
Yes.
things very much have their own rule set, and he doesn't
Right.
really let them bleed too much into one another. So again, joke aside, I think my character is a bit more hedonistic also. Like, I
Okay.
not so much so. I just think like he'll enjoy a good scotch. He'll, you know, have fun with himself, etc. He doesn't care if God's watching.
Right, which is really runs in contrast and is definitely not what the church teaches.
Right.
So perfect. And you are cousins with who's the student?
Dude.
I'm the
Is it-
student.
Right.
Oh, great, Robin. You're a weird cousin.
Great
Okay.
introduction to a new person.
Beautiful.
Sorry, I apologize.
All
everything.
right. Who else, does anyone have themes that they would like to kind of put on the table?
The societies within the church, because like my personal experience, you always see cliques and people. You'll come in and everyone's friendly, but then you see them in their groups.
Yeah, but then the choir people don't sit with the people who actually make the breakfast, and the people who make the breakfast don't sit with the people who run bingo night, and the bingo night people don't sit with the people who do the concessions for the basketball game. Yeah.
And then only some of the old ladies go to breakfast at only some of the restaurants, and they don't invite the other old ladies. Yeah.
Yeah, Kimmy, I think that's a great thought. Especially like there's a new group emerging, right?
Mhm.
Those people that have had visions, and who sits with them, and who do they allow in? That's interesting. Very interesting. Okay. The cliques. All right. What else?
I'm kind of just interested how my character will fit in. 'Cause she's not religious at all. The only reason she's going is her parents pay her way for college, and this was a stipulation. So she's kind of just like zoned out and not paying attention at all. And we'll probably get in trouble in church. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we need at least one of those for sure, right?
One
Someone-
rationalist.
yeah, one person who is not buying it, is not so your character, did they grow up in the church? Or for whatever reason they ended up not growing up in the church?
I think they would have grown up in the church. It never caught their eye.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, so I think that's kind of like another piece of that picture, right? Is like the person that never even had to deconstruct their faith because it never like got its hooks in you. So it'll be interesting, when you start to have visions. Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right. So our setting for this story is the very real town of Bee Caves in the hill country of Central Texas, with some fictional places such as Hill Country University, where our student studies and our teacher teaches.
Professors.
Professors. Also, Sweet Creek Restored Church will be the home church for all of you. And other. Oh, I changed the name of the state park. Let me see. Living Waters State Park. How's that? Among other locales. So Bee Caves is a fairly prosperous place. It is very close to Austin, which is a major population center in Texas. It is close enough to Austin where, you know, your church and your town are not going to be like plagued by Confederate flags, or like it's not going to be that kind of flavor. And I prefer to keep the like race angle out of the story, as you know, as much as is appropriate, as much as we can. But it is far enough outside of Austin where, you know, you may find that prepper culture, the Christian fundamentalist approach kind of have a little bit more weight. Are there questions or thoughts about the setting?
No, sounds.
So you're saying
No,
that
it
it's
seems pretty clear.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so it's close enough to Austin to have some of its progressivism, but far enough away to have some of the more conservative things as well.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would say progressivism is a little bit generous.
Mhm.
I would say closer to the center
Okay.
than beyond than progress. So it's like yeah. So I'll leave it
I
at
gotcha.
that.
I've only been to
Yeah.
Austin once or twice, so.
Has anybody else been to Austin in the group?
Nope.
Nope.
One
It's nice.
time.
Kimmy's been once. Okay. Great. So I can just make shit up and nobody will ever know.
We
Yeah.
can't, we can't
Exactly.
check you.
You must. Okay. All right, so everybody should have access to your sheets. As everyone's on Foundry. So if you look at your sheet, there's a couple of things that we will need to do to kind of get set up. So where your little title is, you can erase that and put your name in. Today I'm gonna go over like kind of everything that we need to add, and then we can go step by step. So we'll need to select a dark secret. We'll get into exactly what that means and what that'll look like in a moment. We'll talk about disadvantages, which you will have to select. John, I think when you played, a lot of this stuff was pre-selected for the short camp for the one shot. So here you get a little bit more agency.
I'm a quick study. I
Yeah.
I think I've already got it because of what restrictions you sent, and also my acquisition of the book
Okay.
as well. So yeah.
Cool.
If everybody
I
else
want to
is...
see if y'all can. Well, anyway, we'll get to the next.
Yeah. I haven't
we'll
done
go-
anything with stats or dark secrets
Okay,
or any of that stuff.
So we'll get into attributes. And then looks, equipment, that is something that you can either pop in now or do later. We'll also talk a little bit about distractions and relations. That's kind of things that I do want to get done before we disconnect for the day, and also the horror contract. Let's do that first before we do anything else. So we have used typically the lines and veils approach. If someone has like a better option or something they want to recommend, please do so. Otherwise, we'll just stick with lines and veils. Lines, that's something that you absolutely do not want to hear about whenever we're playing. Stuff that really does not need to be part of our story and our game. Rape and sexual assault have been mentioned in previous games. I would like to keep that in. Child abuse and child death have been mentioned, and I would like to keep that in. Now, a lot of stuff to do with religion sometimes includes emotional abuse of kids and youth. Is that something that is okay to reference or mention, as long as we're not looking at it explicitly or talking about it explicitly, or do we want to say, forget it, we don't need to talk about that either or have it referenced at all?
I'm okay with
Okay,
it.
if it's referenced.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's referenced, it's one thing, as long as it's not like explicit.
Okay, so I'm gonna make an put emotional abuse of youth, and I'm gonna make that a veil. So something that can be referenced, but that won't ever like take up a scene in our story. And something that I add is incest. I don't want to fucking hear about it. I don't know, Game of Thrones
Fair.
and uh, all these other horror.
It was a different time back then. But oh, I'm sorry, that was a dumb.
God
joke.
damn it, Jonathan.
That was a
Okay.
dumb joke. Sorry.
Okay. Any other things that folks would like to draw a line through and say, no, absolutely not? Especially anything related to like religion and stuff like that. No? And then anything else that you want to put a veil over. And so, like, if it's reference, it's probably okay, but we don't want to look at it explicitly.
I think it was on the doc, but just animal violence. It's fine if it's referenced,
Oh,
but that's
animal
about it.
abuse. Yes, and animal death. That's right. Perfect. So if anything comes up for you and you want to send me a message privately, that is a-okay. Please feel free to do that. And I will add it. Okay. Let's take a look now at. Okay, I'll remind you that everybody's archetype right now is sleeper.
Right?
You have not yet kind of awoken to the reality beneath the veil. However, you do have a dark secret. The book recommends different approaches. There is not anything that is set in stone. And so I guess this is up to you, however you want to do it, or what you think will be more fun or more interesting. You could just kind of select one of the dark secret themes from your from the list, or you could kind of have a more like a more detailed idea of what you want your dark secret to be. There's the possibility of like your memories of this secret being something that you create, or that I create, or that the group creates as we move through the story. So I'm wondering what folks think about like those different approaches to the dark secret. So the way that it'll work is every scene we will gain some points, some like experience points, and we can use that to gain memories about our dark secret. So what do you all think about how you want to A, come up with your dark secret, and B, have your character start to remember it?
I mean, I think that sounds good to me. Like just kind of taking that approach.
Yeah, I think like if we pick our own secrets, but then depending on which ones we get, maybe the group would want to work on that collaboratively. But if it's just like an individual, it doesn't affect the group thing. Maybe it's just between you and the player.
Like
Okay.
the players that are siblings and cousins could both share family secret as a dark secret
Right.
if they wanted to pick family secret. But it's also justified if like one of you wants to be guilty of a crime separate from the rest of the group, if that just fits your character better. I don't know what people are thinking for theirs personally.
That's kind of cool. I mean, can we spitball those now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, table
Okay,
open right
so
now. Let's start brainstorming ideas.
Cody, it would be really cool if we shared some sort of family or generational trauma that we both reacted to in very different ways, pulling you more towards the religion and pushing me away from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe that's an idea.
Is that something we would keep as like a family secret for our dark secret? So many
Yeah, it could be that.
secretception.
It could be that. Whatever.
Is
I was
family secret one of the things in the book?
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
Family secret is one of the dark secret options right out of the
Okay.
book.
So maybe Cody and I could sort of talk about that offline or whatever. And
I actually prefer for us to keep everything on the table.
okay,
That way, like, nobody is on the wrong page.
okay.
So
Because I couldn't really pick a dark
Do you-
secret. There were a lot that really seemed cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm fine if we do family secret.
Okay.
And you probably don't have to share the same personal drive, even though you both share the same family secret.
Right.
Like, that kind of, you both have the knowledge that your family has whatever well-kept secret that secret is. In the book, it suggests either a member of an obscure sect or exposed to some sort of horror in their past.
What if we had like some sort of like just like a relative, like a grandfather or a great grandfather or something who became obsessed with the religion and somehow came to some sort of weird end? Maybe had some books or notes or journals or something like that. That's kind of like off limits for discussion with the family. I don't know. There could be lots of things with that.
So I do have a question. What's the time span between the one shot and By Their Fruits and this campaign?
By Their Fruits
Or
takes
is there one?
place. Yeah. By Their Fruits takes place in 2020. This will take place in 2021.
Okay. Because we could say that one of our family members, if we wanted to link it back at all, was part of GLS and they died in the fire.
Oh.
You're a little early there.
No, because this takes place afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Or did I misunderstand the dates?
No, but but remember you said we want to end with fire, not start with fire.
That's true. We did say
Yep.
that.
So
Let fire
here's,
come naturally.
so here's what I'm thinking too is what I like the idea of. I think GLS is super fucking fringe. Like, GLS is like the Rajneeshi cult. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the Hare Krishnas. It is your religion is, it's like a pioneer religion. So I think if you had somebody join GLS, they would have been a total freak show. Like, they would have been really they would have been like expulsed from your family probably. I mean, that could be the family secret, but I feel like,
Well,
yeah, John.
let me cut in because it sounds like the two that we're talking about here, we can kind of approach that kind of secret very interestingly, because Cody's playing kind of a religious guy, right? So he's gonna be very like embarrassed by that secret, right? Because very religious, but not that kind of religion. That's wrong. So he's going to want to keep the secret, and he's going to be kind of invested in making sure no one talks about it. And then, like, you could create a very interesting dynamic between Andy's character, who is not as religious, and have him be either like avoidant of the family, or like more or less trying to find out the truth of the matter,
Or secretly writing a book about his
and more about the
trying
GLS.
to
Oh,
get
that'd be
himself,
so good.
trying
That
to
would be
get
really
himself.
good.
I'm thinking about
Right.
Tara Westover's book Educated, where she talks about like trying to extricate herself from evangelicalism.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like maybe he's like
Yep.
secretly writing this book that he started when he was in New York or something.
yeah, right
Oh,
where
that's great.
I like that.
right where I'm at. So it could create a dynamic between the two of you where it's confrontational, but I think there's going to be situations where you're basically prying the line, like pressing one another. On
Right.
Andy's side, he's wanting to press the line to get more information about, the cult, and also about like the relationship's reason for not liking it. And then on the opposite side, you're trying to press how much he knows and like figure out like what he's going to do with that information. Also, that makes sense.
Yeah, it would
So
be cool if like this ancestor, like a grandfather or whatever, somehow was able to pierce the veil, and then kind of went a little not right after that, and maybe like I'm finding
For
this
Cocoa
kind of
Puffs.
Cole, the character I'm playing, like is finding this as he's researching the book, and maybe that information is not appreciated by Cody's character.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, that's very cool. I like that.
So the other thing too is, wait, let me look at Family Secret.
It's page 97.
Yeah, I see it.
Just making sure to help and try. Sorry.
Thank you. Perfect. I love that. So yeah, I think that's great, and we want to keep GLS connection.
I'm
I don't
whatever. If we want to
care.
do the grandfather.
Well, I mean, hey, if your grandfather was like this, this beloved patriarch, like very, let's say, like a doctor, a lawyer or something, and had like was designated as like a leader by the church and was like kind of beloved by everyone, and then in his later years he like went, like pierced the veil and ran off to Navasota to join GLS. That would be very traumatic for everybody in the family. So it could have happened when you were kids. I think that probably would be the most interesting.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Definitely.
As a aside, I think it'd be really interesting to play these grandfather characters at some point. Like Nico's granddad, this granddad that we've got here, like these older people back in like the 70s or 80s. That'd be really interesting to see too. Sorry, that's just my brain going crazy.
Yeah, oops, all granddads.
Oops, all grandparents.
Oops, all grandpas.
What do we call Grandpa? The whitest grandpa name. I can't remember.
Pow pow.
Pawpaw or something. Yeah, it was. Anyway.
I like in TikTok when they say like grand thing, or like, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Some of them I can't say because they're slurs.
Oh, for sure. TikTok is a hellscape. We understand.
Mm-hmm.
A hellscape of. Okay. Anyway, so John, Kimmy, Robin, what are you thinking about secrets?
So I kind of like the idea of visitations for mine. The idea that like something supernatural or someone from beyond the grave is like pursuing my character or visiting her.
That's
feel like
probably one
that
of
would
my
be
favorite
interesting.
ones.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be interesting because she would want to be very much like, this isn't real. This is just like. I was actually thinking she might go into psychology for her major into trying to figure out what's wrong with herself.
Yeah.
And to confirm, I'm related to the student, right?
Your
Yeah.
cousins.
Cousins. Okay. So I was thinking forbidden knowledge for mine, and I think it would be interesting that you're like veil piercing, because you said you were a bit more progressive, right? You're not fundamental crazy person. You're basically
Nope.
kind of resisting the incoming thoughts.
Oh yeah.
You're interpreting it your own way instead of letting other people tell you what's happening. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think my character might, like, at some point or somehow, like, I know you're telling the truth. I understand it. I was able to either see what you're seeing for a very short span, or somehow like it's not you saying what you're experiencing. It's more you're able to show me that's the case. And then for me, like, I'm aware of that, and I let too much of it go on my show on the local cable channel, and that's why the church might hate me.
So I like that. I think Robin, if you are being, vulnerable with your cousin one day and share, your kind of weird experiences, it also feels like it would be like a source of kind of complicated relationship to kind of air something that like personal on like your show, right?
Right. Well,
Which I think is good. I like that.
alternatively, to create again, we could jump into it. We just
Yeah, yeah.
for the first time here, we could jump into it buddy cop style, or my knowledge of your visions could be a trespass. Like I could have like saw you like floating off the bed, or like
Yeah.
your head spinning around and shooting pea soup. No, okay, so obviously that's a bit dramatic, but
Yeah.
whatever the case is, I saw it, and I saw it for real, and maybe it's not something that you're aware that I knew until I blathered about it on my stupid cable channel.
Yeah. So the other piece of
Yeah.
that is though, is that because you are sleepers, this is buried. So I don't know if we want to start with
Gotcha.
that, or like, I mean, or it could be like that there's gaps, right? Like
Mhm.
you're the church is like cutting both of you out a little bit, and like neither of you understand why, because your memory about that incident is warped. That could also be the case. Part of like
I'd be down
the
for that.
part of being a sleeper is that you're distracting yourself from a reality that is too difficult to bear. So I think it would be interesting for both of you to start to uncover these like things that have happened that you've done that you don't recall. I think that's frightening.
Well, okay, so that's and again, if you want to
Yeah.
chime in, I don't want to like tread over anybody. I'm sorry if I sound
Okay.
like
No,
sometimes
no,
I
no.
do, but I just want to be sure. Like, it could be the case that I saw not the whole thing. Like, I don't have the full knowledge,
Sure.
but subconsciously I do, right? So like in
Mm,
my brain, like I know the truth, but like my brain isn't saying that that's the case. Whatever the veil piercing thing in this situation is, however she's receiving these messages. And so for my character, like obviously my personal drive will be reveal the truth. And so in that early onset, it was just like a fragment of like it, but the trauma of it, like I kind of buried that all and just kind of spoke about one aspect of it, which was very clearly like a sign to those who are in the know is related to not good stuff. And so they were very much like, you're out. And so she's not so much the case because I wouldn't have named her directly. I just would have said something about the event, and it wouldn't even have been fully like grounded in it. So there may not be like that kind of larger dynamic. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay.
I like that a lot, actually. I think that I think it makes sense, right? Like you're maybe a witness to something, and you lock down probably the most horrifying part of it, and the part that's on the very surface is a red flag to people who are awake and who are kind of controlling the show. Um, but there's still something locked underneath that's not fully. Yeah, okay. Robin, does that sound like a good like dovetail to your secret and your experiences of being visited?
Yes, I think I like the idea of like her just having gaps in her memory. Like
Got it.
she just doesn't fully remember the visitations, but the gaps in the memory, she's maybe been through testing, her family's followed up on in, there's no medical explanation. So
Right,
that's
right.
kind of what drives her into psychology to get to know the brain better, to try to understand like what the hell is happening. Because that'd be really upsetting.
That's frightening. Yeah. And I mean, as we both know, right? Like that kind of memory weirdness, it like is so associated with childhood trauma
Mhm.
And when you're asking everyone in your world, like, what happened to me? And everyone's like, literally nothing. That's frightening. Yeah. Cool.
Definitely.
All right. Kimmy and Zach.
So I have a couple ideas, but I think the stronger idea is taking Rootless as my dark secret. So we haven't talked a lot about the character's actual background. What I'm thinking is he grew up being moved from place to place. Like they would put down roots, and then every 6 months to a year, sometime in the middle of the night, get up, we're going, get up, we're going, get up, we're going. And everything gets thrown into like bags that you can throw on your back and piled into one car and disappearing states and states over. So he's not even originally from Texas or this area, but he is now 19, almost 20. And a couple of months ago, his parents tried to get him to leave, and he said no, because he had a job at the grocery store, and he started going to this church, and he was just about to move into his own apartment or his own place and like let his parents disappear. And his personal drive is less about finding them and more about figuring out why they were so scared, to prepare himself for whatever that is. And that's what got him online doing a lot of those like deep dives into forums about prepping, like how to prepare yourself for an attack and how to like do self-defense and like martial arts and shit. And just like that's what got him more and more radicalized. And like he could have even, instead of his own apartment, like moved into the bedroom of some old lady's house to like just like pay $300 a month in rent and like drive her to church every Sunday. And that's why he's in the church. Like he does believe in God. His family's always believed in God, quote unquote. Whatever town they move into to normalize themselves, they would like go to the first church. And this is just the last church that he was, and met this sweet old lady who had an empty bedroom and can't drive herself anymore.
NPC alert, NPC alert.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling, is the just some like sweet old lady that had an extra bedroom because her whole family's moved out and she needs a ride to church and he needed a place to stay. You know?
All of her kids and grandkids have deconstructed and become godless liberals in Austin.
Right.
And now so I love that. Is anybody watching, did anybody watch Fargo this season?
No.
No. Yeah, this one of the characters kind of forcibly moves himself into an old lady's room. So yeah, and I like that. I think that's very interesting. I think your take on Rootless was really creepy. It gave me a little bit of a chill.
Right?
I think that's
that fear of just like you don't know when it's coming, all throughout his childhood, just like random nights where his parents would go, we're going. And that like trauma of waking up in the middle of the night sometimes now as he's 19, 20 years old, like, oh fuck, we're going, and like panicking and packing a bag and then like taking a breath and coming back to the present. Those like horrible spikes of anxiety.
Yeah.
How do you like manage that?
And it also gives a little bit of like that old Stephen King maxim of like, it's not even what's behind the door, right? It's the door. It's like, it's not even what's chasing you. It's the fact that it's chasing you.
Right.
So yeah, great. I love it.
Yeah.
And your manager at work.
Yeah. I was thinking of going with victim of crime, but it's not like a real crime that you would like report to the police. It's like within the church. I have my character actually coming from Snook, Texas, which is like
Snook?
Yeah.
Okay.
Snook, which is like a population of like 500 and something.
Wow.
And,
okay.
So it's a small town with maybe like a handful of churches, and you know she's been ostracized by the church by something she doesn't think she did anything wrong, that she was the victim, and everyone kind of just be like, it's her fault, and kind of shunned her. So, without even support from anyone, she felt like she had to leave. Like I was talking about society, how, the societies within the church, she just felt like she had to leave because, they just stared her down and
Well, yeah, and with like a little tiny church, probably in a small town like that, everybody knows everybody's biz.
Mhm.
And your quote unquote society in the church is your entire social life,
Mhm.
in and out. And if you're feeling that alone, then so what kind of crime do you have an idea of what kind of crime? Like, do you think like an occult crime, or like what are you
So,
thinking?
so like the way I was thinking of it, because I see it says like suggested personal drives, is I would kind of have an obsession with the perpetrator,
Okay.
and I'm at this new church and I'm hoping to like become one of the inner circle and either get revenge
Oh
on that
shit.
person or that church, because you know how sometimes these
Kimmy does
churches
not fuck around.
We
um
can try to delve into the church together then.
yeah, like either get, because she was wronged by one person and then she was wronged by the church as a whole too. So I
Yeah.
don't know if I want her to get kind of revenge. I'm kind of going the revenge path, or her to slip in and re-experience the crime again, or confront and forgive the perpetrator. Like I haven't decided.
Yeah. I love that. Do you have a an idea of what kind of crime?
So essentially, what happened to my character
Mhm.
was she got married real young, at 19,
Mhm.
to this person. Wasn't the love of her life or nothing, but they both grew up in the church, and she was like, all right, he asked and we're dating, it's fine.
Mhm.
um but as soon as they got married, he wasn't into church like she was, and because they were young, as soon as they turned 21, he realized he could actually go out to bars and stuff and drink, and then he started hanging out with the wrong crowd. So while she was at Bible study one night, he actually leaves, goes home, packs his stuff, and runs off to Oklahoma with someone else. But the church sees it's her fault, that if if the home life was good, he wouldn't have run away.
You are a victim of and complicit in a spiritual crime,
Yeah.
a crime against the morality of the church.
Hmm.
That this is actually something that comes up a lot. I watch so many fucking podcasts about religion lately. I don't even know why. But something that comes up a lot is like the idea that women have to control men's behavior
Hmm.
by how they dress, how they act. Like you can't like have too much titty showing because then you're like, an evil Jezebel whore. But you got to have like just the right amount of makeup on so that your husband will stick around and not go off with the other Jezebel whore, right? And
Hmm.
it's like men are like like their crimes are excused, unless it's masturbation, then they're going to hell. So um, I think that's a really interesting case. Yeah, I like that. So, at the same time, I want us to give your secret an occult or supernatural twist, and for that twist to emerge as you progress through the game.
Okay.
We don't have to think of it now, but we can start to sort of ponder it.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is spooky. All right. Um, So I'm thinking it'll be helpful if everybody makes a note of things that you're not able to put directly into your sheet, and then I will do it. Unless you are able to open up your sheet, and then in Foundry, there's like on the right-hand side on that like column, there's a tab that's called Items. If you open it up, there's a Dark Secrets and Disadvantages folder. I have been putting these in manually, and it is like this is just I think things that I have put in from the last couple of games. If you don't see the stuff that you want, you are welcome to just make a note somewhere and send it to me so that I can add it. If you want to try to drag and drop whatever you've seen, like victim of crime is in there. Kimmy, I don't know if you want to try to drag it into your sheet.
It does work, yeah.
It does work?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So if you don't see what you want, just make a note and let me know. All right. So the next step is to kind of create disadvantages. Do folks mind if we take like a 5-minute bio break?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Run an ad.
Thank you, John, for running the ad.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know. I only do it during the games I play in. I forget when I'm running.
That's awesome. What good timing.
Oh, I'm muted. Are we back?
Looks
We're
like
here.
it.
I'm around.
All right, cool. All right, so if folks, is there anybody that like hasn't selected advantages or needs more time?
So we don't select advantages as sleepers, but we just select 2 disadvantages, is that right?
You select disadvantages, not advantages.
Right.
Sorry, y'all.
Depression and harassed. Just like
with
in
fanatic
real
and
life.
liar.
And which ones?
Fanatic and liar.
Ooh.
I'm obsessed with my religion, and I will lie to you to make you like it too.
Ooh. That's juicy. Okay.
Oh, Shisho, can you add Oath of Revenge?
Make a note, because
Okay.
I don't have it in the. If I don't have it in the listing on the right,
Mhm.
I gotta do it manually later.
Okay.
Also, Shisho, you said equipment appropriate to the role.
Yeah,
I'm a teacher, so I just wrote teacher stuff.
cool. I mean,
I don't
if
know.
you
It's a ruler, a calculator, a bunch of
Yeah, exactly.
markers.
Right, like the general category of teacher stuff.
sure. I mean, we can start there, but you're also, a prepper in Texas, so you probably have other things besides that.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
I fleshed it out a little bit more throughout the
Okay.
session. I don't think teacher stuff is quite as sufficient any longer.
Yeah. I mean, you can have both,
I'm just going to do IE and then add some more stuff.
Okay.
So for my
Mhm.
for my disadvantages, I really liked Object of Desire,
Ooh.
so that was kind of cool. I think I might try to do that, where you just cause different desires in people.
You realize I'm going to have to roll that when you enter my class.
But it doesn't mean just pursuing romantically.
That
So
is true.
it also can mean,
Come to church.
yeah, it
Like,
can also
you
mean,
gotta come to church, girl. Gotta come to church.
so you ignite a person's desires, influencing their behavior. Someone can like have passion or can attempt to like they can become jealous of you or harm themselves or someone because of you, or like there's a bunch of things you can do.
Gotcha.
I think you could be like really passionate, like she just wanting me in the church and making sure I don't miss any church days.
That's definitely
And then
not creepy.
Not at all.
no,
Totally something a teacher should be doing.
I also really liked Obsession because I think she's going to obsess over the gaps in her memory to the point where like she's hardcore studying psychology. Like that's all she ever reads about. She always has a book in her hand about memory. And like it's kind of turning unhealthy.
Got it. Okay. Relations. I am at some point gonna add relations in. You will have some pluses or minuses kind of associated with the other player characters. For example, siblings will have a +2 to relation, meaning if Cole and who's oh gosh, Cole and Joshua, right? Wait, who's Joshua?
That's me.
Who am I missing?
Oh, Cody's character.
Cody, what's your character's name?
We were muted. Sorry. It's Willow.
Oh, Willow. Okay. You and Willow are if you try to act against one another, there's like a penalty of 2, basically.
That'll be interesting.
All right. Another important kind of item is distractions. You will choose one or several, probably one is enough, but if you wanted to do 2, maybe 3, you could. There's, you have that prickle of the truth beyond the veil, like itching you to like dig and learn and understand things that will ruin you. And you've got to do something mundane to kind of keep you from falling over the edge. Distractions will allow you to recover stability. So in your notes or on your background or wherever or under who are you, wherever on your sheet, make a note of like what you use to keep you distracted and that what enables you to remain asleep. Whenever you're not able to engage in your distraction for a few days, you'll have to make a keep it together move to not give into it, even to your detriment. So you, when you have been forced to interrupt your distraction, you take penalties on your rolls.
So how many distractions?
1 to 3, maybe.
Okay.
3 max. I think any more than that would be like overwhelming. I mean, basically anything that you use to like distract yourself. I mean, even in real life, right? Like me and John and Liz would put TikTok down probably.
Mulch
Not to
gang.
out John as a
Mulch gang.
Oh, mulch gang, yeah. Eating mulch is one of my distractions.
Microplastics.
Red
rolling
40 and
highways.
microplastics. Andy's like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Just a little concerned.
Fuck.
We all got our things, I guess. You know?
Did you guys know that researchers tried to do an experiment on how microplastics affect us, but
And
they
couldn't
could not
any
find
control
a control group? Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't
That's-
find someone without microplastics.
Correct.
That's
Like not even
horrifying.
infants in
There
utero.
was no person they could find that they tested that didn't already have it in their system. So there's no way to
Well-
compare what happens if it does or doesn't enter your body because
There
it's
we
there,
are.
man. This is the world we live in.
That's the way it works.
That's fine.
Uh,
We're just, part of the mulch gang now.
it's fine.
Mhm.
Everything's fine. It's all fine.
Filled with plastic. It's fantastic.
Okay. So if you have not made your notes or put it in your sheet, make sure you make a note to pick your disadvantages and your distractions. So you will also, I would like to do this today before we disconnect, is do our advantages, our attributes. So I see some folks have already put them in. You will have you can kind of read it on the sheet, the handout. You will have a +2, a +1, and a +0 that you can assign to your passive attributes. That's fortitude, reflexes, and willpower. Remember that those, will help you, I think, avoid harm and endure injury, and also keep it together.
So +2, +1, +0?
Correct. 0, 1, and 2. And then for the remainder, you'll have +3, +2, +1, +1, +0, -1, and -2 for the remaining 7. And that is also on the handout, but I'll put it into the chat in the VTT, so that you can look at it there too. I'm gonna have to start learning everybody's character names now.
James.
I'm just gonna change it to Josh because that's what we're gonna call him.
Josh Grant.
Marsha.
Also, Andy, did you have thoughts on a last name?
No, I don't. So I'm happy if you suggest it. So I always choose characters with just a simple first name.
Yeah, me
So-
too.
He's a simple name, Andy.
Smith.
Sure.
No, I'm mixing Smith. Absolutely fucking. Not in
You
2020.
can both
Not in
do better than
2024.
that.
Not on my watch. Not in my coven.
Mm.
Okay.
Anti-Smith bigotry.
Smith.
What's another really common one? We'll just run through them all.
Johnson.
William.
Williams.
Well, let's see. Like I kind of are your families are from Texas, right? Like Texan,
Mhm.
Texan.
Yep.
So let's see, like some pioneer Texan surnames.
Austin.
What would those be?
Let me see. Let me see.
Jameson.
You can be Milam, Barnard, Austin. Yeah.
Austin.
Stone Cold.
Oh God. Brown. You could have a Hispanic surname, but I don't know
What
if
you got?
y'all are ready for that. You could
Sure.
be Cavazos, Cavasos.
I kind of like that.
Okay.
Andy?
Whatever. That sounds fine.
Cole Cavaso. Well, I guess if you're white, you would say Cole Cavazos.
Right.
That's the way Cole would say it.
Cavazos.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Cavazos.
I think
And we're
Cole Cavazos.
yeah, Cavazos.
So I also think James and Freya share
Mhm.
a last name. I don't know what we would want that to be.
You could, but you don't have to.
We're
Oh, we don't
Uh,
have to?
Because you are
Okay.
cousins. So.
Yeah, your cousins. You could have different last names.
Okay.
James K.
It
Right?
could be
Yeah.
your mom and his dad.
My name was a gimmick anyway, so I'm okay with changing it. But yeah,
What's the gimmick?
so my
James?
character is very much going to just be a blend of two very old-timey actors. So Jimmy Stewart and Danny
Oh.
Kaye. My brain is simplified
Cool.
as far as mentality and acting. So it could be something different if you want to have the same last name.
Oh, we got Collins.
No, we don't have to. I wasn't
Collins.
sure.
Okay.
Okay. What about Marsha's surname?
Oh, I was gonna make it Jeffs, but it's spelled with a PHS.
I like it.
Zach,
I
have we
like
decided
those.
on the name of the store that we're working at?
Dollar General.
God, no.
I mean,
The two of us are working at a Dollar General running a dogfighting ring in the middle of it. Like, no, I don't want to tell that story.
underneath.
Wait, what?
Underneath.
It's Texas. It could be Academy.
Yeah.
Right.
It could be. Oh my God! It could be a Bucky's.
Or
Yes,
Whataburger.
let's make it a Buc-ee's.
Oh man!
Buc-ee's.
If you're not from the South,
I am not.
You said a bunch of syllables.
No.
Might surprise you. I am not from the South.
You have a wall, right?
well, it might surprise people that I am from the South. I think that's
Eh.
fair.
You do say y'all a lot.
Y'all. Well, that's more of a
No,
weird
no,
thing.
no. It's not about you saying it. It's about how you say it.
Oh, I say y'all.
Yeah.
You do. There's a
I
bit of
told
drawl
y'all.
to
Bit of a draw in the y'all.
it.
We appreciate it.
Okay. So this is just kind of like. I think there's a lot of horror to be had in this. Like, I don't know, Bucky's coming to life, like Bucky coming to life in the middle of the night. I don't know. It's like Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, I've never played it or seen anything. I just know of it, but it just gives me that energy and that vibe.
That's how it works.
It could be spooky. So, are we good with Bucky's?
Yeah.
I'm Bacchus.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, for the uninitiated, Bucky's is like a gas station on steroids, and they have like rows of like drink coolers and frozen drinks and like a barbecue shop and massive, like pristine bathrooms. It's like very known in the South for like if you're going on a road trip or if you live in a small town, it's like the place to be.
It's our holy grail.
It's our holy grail. Yeah. Okay. Has everybody put in their attributes?
Yep.
Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about the lore now that and so this is the thing that's like I don't want to bore y'all with like my weird obsessions, so I won't go too deeply into it, and it doesn't have to be a massive part of the story or of the fiction of our scenes and our gameplay or whatever. But there are a few things that are relevant. So this church was founded in Texas by sort of someone that's like post-pioneer, kind of after the pioneer days, by somebody from the border, somebody that grew up in a mainline Christian family, with a Protestant dad and a Catholic mom, and that was purported to have had visions of God and to have received a divine message that he was to reform the church of God on earth, and that he had to create a church where they lived the way that Christ's original followers lived, and that these visions that he had revealed kind of previously unknown truths about humanity's liberation from sin and from damnation. These visions, this young man's charisma, led to his mission to restore the faith, the Christian faith, and his first converts were his parents and his siblings. Probably one of the things that's going to be important is that there's kind of tenets, right? Like typically it's just like most forms of Christianity where like, okay, there's Jesus and the Bible, and there's miracles and prayer, all that kind of stuff. Something that is special is that in this church there is a patriarch, right? Like a pope, or like in other forms of Christianity, there's like a like a patriarch in the Orthodox Church, or there's a prophet in Latter-day Saints churches, right? So there's one patriarch in this church, and all of you are part of his congregation. You're not in one of these satellite churches. This faith has spread throughout the United States and North America and even Latin America, but you're like at the center of it, where it was very close to where it was founded, and where it kind of has made its headquarters. When one patriarch passes, another is chosen by God from a council. There are 5 men in the council, and they are all expected to be married, of course, and their wives are leaders in the church, leaders for other women in the church. Patriarchy is a very clear-cut aspect of your faith. There is also something that kind of separates this kind of iteration of Christianity from others, in that there are concentric circles of divine knowledge that are uncovered by parishioners. It is understood that you don't know the whole truth because you're not ready for it. And until you reach a certain level of spiritual preparation, you will not move into the next circle of knowledge.
Sounds like Scientology.
It's like
That's
Scientology.
really funny that you're saying that, because I was literally posting this in the chat.
Is it Tom Cruise? Oh,
No, it's Xeno.
it's Zeno. So it is a little like Scientology, or a lot, but you don't have to pay for classes.
Right.
You do have to pay your tithe, though, which is 10% of your paycheck. So one of the things that I am curious about, and that I want to kind of put on the table for us, is like, I'm very like interested in what kinds of prohibitions, limitations, and expectations would make you feel uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable to the point where like, okay, fuck this, I'm not gonna play this game, I'm out. But like, what creeps you out? What like makes you feel kind of weird and disturbed? What, it doesn't have to be something from like an existing religion, but like, what do you think, if you thought like, okay, if the religion asked me to do or not do this, I would definitely not fucking join that. Like, what comes to mind for folks?
So things that are not super extreme.
I think we can be extreme within our horror contract, right? Like, nothing to do with rape or sexual assault, nothing to do with child abuse or child death or incest, animal abuse, animal death, or emotional abuse of youth.
Yeah, most religions don't care about this stuff anyway, so.
You're not wrong.
Sorry, I saw the zinger, I had to go for it. I was like,
no, but we could do extreme things like manage like food intake, times when we eat, what we eat,
well,
That sounds
how
like
we
cult.
eat.
I would think this common basic
It's things that are very common in most religions. They have some sort of things that are and aren't prescribed to and eat. And there are rituals around when you eat, like holidays for fasting and things, and some of it is worked right into those rituals.
Like I was
They're
thinking
gonna
about
force
like
us to be kosher.
Okay, so
Or
first
vegan.
beat. So first
Yeah, no.
beat is the first beat is food. So fasting will be part of like different festivals and religious observances. The other thing was I think it's interesting. I like the idea because I haven't heard this before. Well, I mean, except for like maybe like Ramadan or whatever, we have to eat, like you can't eat before sundown. But I think it's interesting to think like even on a regular schmegular week, like what if you're not allowed to eat unless it's like between noon and 1, because that's what the prophet said. It's like that's when you eat lunch.
Like on a specific day, maybe. Like you're only allowed to eat a certain thing on a certain day, like the Sabbath or whatever holy day.
Right.
Have that
Fish
be a
on
day.
Friday things.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
You know.
Okay. So I'm gonna say that meals only at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. for breakfast, 12 to 1 for lunch, and 6 to 7 for dinner. And anything out, if you eat anything outside of those times, it is considered a sin. And then
The loophole is drinks.
you're allowed to have a drink. So
Juices.
Oh, boy.
I'm a juicer.
the gym bros are preserved because they can
Right.
drink their
Everybody
Protein
has to be well
shakes,
Protein
stocked.
shakes.
like all that shit is fine because it's a liquid.
A thick
okay,
wit.
and a thick
Liquid.
Saturdays
Fucking asshole.
are the Sabbath, and so you are only allowed to eat. What is the restriction for the Sabbath?
I like the idea of fish. That sounds good. It's very
Fish only.
because this is a Christian denomination, right?
So
Yeah.
no red meat,
Right.
fish only.
Yep.
Wow, it's a hardship in Texas, right?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
depends on what part. Is Austin near the Gulf?
That's true.
I mean, nothing's. I mean, the Gulf. What are you gonna dig
No
out of
red
the fucking
meat could
Gulf?
also be like
I don't know.
fucking pasta, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to always be fish.
Right.
But it should be.
Okay.
It should be.
What else? What is? So
So-
I think that's good with. Oh, I'm sorry, Andy. Go ahead.
That's fine. I just sort of building on that, even like maybe
yeah.
generalizing a little bit more. Like I would find creepy just a high level of intrusiveness, whether
Mhm.
it's like forced visits of some sort of spiritual advisor,
Ooh,
you know, like that kind of thing.
Door knocking.
Ooh,
Door
I
knocking.
like that. I like
Well, first is like you're expected to welcome into your home like somebody from the council,
Yep.
maybe a couple of times a year, or more often.
When they
More
come,
often.
I don't think
Yeah.
we know how often they're going to come, and the council chooses how often to come based on how often they think they need to come check in with
Right.
you.
So troublemakers will get more
Right,
unannounced
exactly.
visits. Yeah.
And those who are doing well within the church's eyes probably only get checked in once or twice a year, but like you need to be prepared for them to knock on your door at any point at any time, and they do
Bitch,
not
you-
give you warning.
You better not be eating dinner at 8 p.m.
That's what I'm saying,
They
dude.
come
Can you
knocking.
imagine if the table is fucking set and it's like 7:40? The amount of fucking Hail Marys you're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
much praying.
I kind of like the idea. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I kind of like the idea of like a buddy system, but really it's just like ratting people out. So like
Yes.
you get like an elder or someone who you're supposed to be accountable to, but really you're just both trying to see if you can pull up shit on each other. Like, you know, they had dinner and it wasn't fish and it was Saturday.
Right.
Well, if they get
Sir-
the kids on it, that would be really creepy too.
It's surveillance.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys
Fucking
heard
peering
of
in your window.
Have you guys heard of Covenant Eyes?
No.
Mm-mm.
It's this like software company that makes stuff that you can just like monitor
yeah.
phone
Oh, yeah.
data. So like
Oh,
all
yeah.
messages, all calls in and out, all websites accessed, all apps that are downloaded, you get like screen reports and live updates of how as those things are happening, and like you
That's
can put warnings in for specific like messages and specific times for things, like if you don't want certain numbers contacting your child or if you don't want certain words used in their texts, like we
Porn
could have to
accountability.
have that on all of our devices or something like
Like you
that the church
expect
can access. Yeah.
like you expect the flagged words to be like, you know, like big weenies and like big boobies, but it's actually like Tip Horeth and
Yep.
like Kether and the
Mhm.
Veil. Ooh, okay, I
Yeah.
love it. What else?
I also kind of like the idea in a controlling way of certain career paths are frowned upon, like not explicitly banned, but maybe ones that would gain you more knowledge, like being a scientist or a psychologist, or
Or ones that are forced on you by the church.
yeah, like maybe they tell some people like this is your role, this is what you're going to do.
Okay, so that's a great beat. Okay, so certain careers are frowned upon. So there's like an anti-intellectual bent, which adds up. So science, so careers in exploratory science, exploratory and explicatory science are like
Mhm.
banned, but practical science is okay, like engineering is fine.
Yeah, because they need they need tradesmen,
Right,
but
exactly.
they don't need people to start thinking for themselves.
So here's another good kind of like another interesting quirk is that when everybody turns, let's say, 15, they get their like a patri. Oh God, I don't want to like have the name. Excuse me, the name be too close to the actual one from the religion. So let me. We'll call it a devotional thing. And then I'll come up with a name later. But basically, it's like you go to one of the patriarchs and they have a vision and they tell you, oh, great, you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a librarian, or you're going to be a mom. Every girl
You know,
gets
work at
that.
Dollar General.
You're going to work at Dollar General. You're never going to make it past that. So focus on coming to church and getting married, but don't have too many kids. Pray you don't have too many kids, because
Right,
you're
you have no way of
definitely not using
controlling
contraception. Devotional, and so it's like if you deviate from that, it's considered to be sinful. If they tell you, oh, you're at a vision, you're going to be a kindergarten teacher, and you decide to become a psychologist, that's a problem.
I think
Yeah, they're just gonna have to set up camp in Freya's dormitory.
Yeah,
Might as well just stay 24/7.
right.
I think that's really
I also
interesting.
like the idea of like bringing people into the religion, which is like a normal thing for most religions, but to the point of like if you haven't brought in X amount of new people this year, you are not spiritually prepared to move to the next level.
Right, or you get like a stern talking to.
Right. Or like you're blocked in some way from advancement within the religion itself.
Whoa.
So if
It's
you
like a
miss your quota, you're
multi-level
punished.
marketing system.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it could be like parishioners that you bring in are underneath you, like
Yeah.
it discounts your tithes.
No, well,
Oh gosh, wait,
nice try. You're never gonna get a fucking discount on that tithe, but
It's
more
going to
that you-
grow, if anything.
but if the people that you bring, quote unquote, underneath you feed your spiritual like awakening, your spiritual like you're considered to be. Yeah, I think
sounds
that's
like
perfect.
Mormonism, but instead of wives, it's people you bring into the church.
Oh, honey, you're expected to bring people into the church too.
Oh, I know, but like I mean to say, like
Also
they
wives.
don't go on your planet though.
They don't.
It's just the wives. Um, I was going to say I really like the idea of like the church choosing your profession, but I think it's interesting, like, and kind of going back to the idea of grandpa cult. The my father was the journalist for the town, and like the reason why my guy is so old timey is because my dad was, and that's
Aw.
I guess at 15 what I was chose to do. So like I didn't really steer too far, like rock the boat or anything. And I'm
Right.
assuming his granddad was also an investigative
journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
very interesting. I like that beat.
Okay. Any other prohibitions or quirks?
I don't know if it would fit any of us, but kind of like the abuse of power aspect, like wards of the church, whether they're coerced through the court system or they're coerced to sign their rights over in general, but just like control of a person, their finances, what they're allowed to do, not to do. Like they're just somehow in complete control of the church.
I was gonna say something similar, but slightly less like overarching. So one thing that I kind of think about regarding church is like when I went to church, like especially like youth ministries stuff, a big old van would come around and pick up all the kids and drag them to whatever function was happening. And it was like the big old metal vans with like
Mhm.
yeah, like so I'm thinking like maybe that just for everybody. Like instead of people driving to church like was suggested, maybe it's just like they come and pick everybody up and make sure they're there on time. Like so
Ugh.
And you stay for as long as you're told to stay and then
Yeah.
taken home.
and like they feed you lunch. It's fish. But then they drive you home, or you can walk home if you want.
Always fish.
When you're leaving, you can walk home. It's okay. I think that'd be fine, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be okay to leave on your feet.
Well, I mean, if you I mean, honestly, like, I think the other beat that kind of gives me is like, no, it's okay if you walk home. You can walk home. It's okay. But like, clearly, it is not okay for you to walk
Mhm.
home.
Yeah.
Like, everybody comes and goes on in the van when they're told, and there's definitely no walking home. If somebody is walking home, it's a scandal.
This guy walks
Yeah.
home.
Oh,
But
Freya
great.
walks
yeah.
home.
Well, no. Again, my character is like oblivious to the idea, and again, like with everything that's with him, like one of my disadvantages is harass. So I kind of want him to have these like gradients. So if that's the way they phrase it, like I'm like, okay, and then I'm suffering for it, right? Because they're holding it against me, but I'm like, why are they holding it against me? They said it's fine if I walked home, but they didn't mean it. They obviously were putting down something subtle there that wasn't,
Right.
verbalized.
Well, it's a test,
Right.
right?
And I'm failing, but
And you're
like
failing.
I don't even realize I'm being tested.
Right. You
He loves
barely
driving a
you
van.
barely realize you're failing.
Yeah. I'm too busy. It's a fun
Okay.
walk home.
Right, right. Like playing Pokemon Go on your way home.
Yeah, for sure. Playing
Yeah.
Pokemon Go. Because there's going to be Pokies. The church is a Pokies.
The church is a Pokestop.
It's a stadium. It's a stadium, and I've got control of it.
The Bucky's is a Pokestop. Okay.
For sure.
So, these are great. I love these. Any others that you want to add to the table? Y'all came up with some weird, scary shit that I wasn't thinking about. So I'm glad we did this
Sadly, mine was based on real
activity.
life.
Oh no.
That van, it's traumatizing.
Ugh.
It was
The
very
forced
weird.
visits is traumatizing. Just open the
Ooh.
door.
Oh, yeah.
Here for supper.
Hi. Hey,
And like they're
Marsha.
poking around in your closets and stuff. Like
Ooh. Ooh. Oh, we're
I feel
just
like the
want to make
buddy
sure.
system.
The buddy
Oh,
system.
go on.
No, the
I
buddy
feel like
system.
buddy system gets to me just because it's like, everyone's being nice on the outside.
Right.
Everyone's saying like they're there for your support, to support you emotionally, spiritually, but they're just waiting for the moment you mess up.
And
it's like trust no one. You're always paranoid.
imagine being the one dumb bitch that falls for it. That's heartbreaking. That would be me.
Yeah, it's going to be my character.
Be like, oh man, I have a confession. I totally had a coffee, and it's like, you did what? Okay. So, we have a pretty robust, I think, idea of what our faith is looking like. And so I think the last piece, and I'm gonna make a note here for me and us, is I kind of wanted everyone to consider what keeps me here. Because this is like, it sounds like in a lot of ways this is kind of unpleasant, but in the real, in the real world, or people stay in abusive situations all the time. And, you know, folks looking from the outside in can go, well, just leave, just get out. And, last time, uh, when with by their fruits, we looked at a group of people that did get out, that had enough, and they fought tooth and nail to stay out and to be free. They were willing to do very insane shit to make
Yeah.
sure that they did not, end up back under the yoke. But for this game, at least for now, I want to know what keeps you going back to church every week. Why are you still here?
Well, fucking Ethel needs a ride.
Campbell does need a ride.
So,
But if glasses counting.
Josh. So Josh is like a matter of like basic needs. Like
Right. Like, I mean,
Ethel needs a ride.
at its core, like his survival is dependent on his housing, and his housing is dependent on his relationship with Ethel, and Ethel needs a ride to church every Sunday. He's always been religious and has also always gone to church with his parents, and now that his parents are gone, he's still going to go to church. But
Well,
like,
I
he's
think
also
that's
19
yeah.
and like might make other choices if he didn't have Ethel forcing him to go every Sunday.
But I think that's an interesting point, though. Like, yes, you need Ethel. You need to have a good relationship with Ethel. She's a diehard, and
Yeah.
you know you want to be on her good side. But also, like, you know, you've never been able to build friendships and community and support. And right now, for all of the, you know, fucked up things that happen
Right.
at
If anything, all of the weird surveillance almost feels like structure to him and
yeah,
security. Like the security theater is security, right?
well, and like they're paying attention,
Yeah.
right? Like if they look away, then no one is watching you, and that's scary too. I mean, 19, you know, you're an adult by law, but you're still a kid.
Yeah, you're just still a fucking baby.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So for Freya, it's a matter of kind of similar. Like she needs someone to pay for her college. Her parents are paying as long as she continues this lifestyle. So, like, she's kind of trying to get out. She's trying to better herself, but she can't actively show that.
What year of school are you in?
Um, she's probably in her like, I'll say third year. So she's getting close, but it's hard to manage the church from like finding out that she's studying psychology and
Okay.
now
So
she's playing it off.
okay. So it's like you need to follow the rules and play the role that you're stuck in so that you can have a future where you can get unstuck. And you know, it's also feeds your obsession, right? Like if you step a toe out of line, you lose your financial support from your family, you have to drop out of school, and then who's gonna fucking figure out what's wrong with you? So yeah. Okay, makes sense.
For Cole, it would be guilt and a promise that he made to his late mother to attend and to keep an eye on that Willow character.
Okay. Willow.
So for Willow, it's a few things. They're a little bit at odds. They're non-binary, so being in a fundamentalist Christian church is a little bit weird. But I'm staying for a little bit of fear of like I'm definitely convinced that the world is going to end, and I'm prepping for that. And I think the religion is a good way to protect myself. But then also there is a want for power. There is a want to be deeper and more important into the church, and like a want to be able to sway other people to find that appealing and to want to join as well. So it's power, fear, but a little bit at odds.
Well, I hear a desire for power and fear of the future, but also faith, because you believe it.
Right.
You
Like I
believe
want
it's
to
the
be
truth.
there. I'm not there just to pull strings. Like I do believe in it.
It's the truth. Because if that's the truth, then your work for this organization, this church, it's like for the salvation of humankind. And like, what's more important than that?
Right.
I think that it is bold to choose a non-binary to have a non-binary person be so like vocal or active in the church. My initial reaction is that this church will be antagonistic towards
Right.
non-binary identity. Um, I feel comfortable playing that. I feel comfortable that being part of our story. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it adds like an interesting angle to it of
Okay.
they want to be more involved. They want to progress through the circles of knowledge, but they know that's going to be incredibly difficult, especially with the buddy system. Thank you for that. Of like, they're always going to be like ratting me out for random things. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
And
Question.
that's,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask, and again, obviously, Shijo, you mentioned that the church is going to be kind of focused on Willow a little bit differently than Willow sees Willow and
Right.
how Willow really is. So, like, as a member of the church, like, I just want to know from our perspective, like, how do we perceive Willow? Is Willow like, um, I don't know how to ask this question sensitively.
Well, okay, so the question is, or like the idea is,
We're
if
gonna
we
misgender
really,
them.
yeah, right. If we really want to know Willow and get to know Willow's story and also represent what it feels like to be a non-binary person in a religious space, we'll have to talk about like what was Willow's sex assigned at birth and like how do they present today. So we don't have to get into too much of that today.
Okay.
But I think that's a good question, John. It's like what because the church and its followers are not going to be respectful.
Right.
And that is part of the pain of like, being a queer or trans person in many kind of religious contexts. And then sometimes like it's not even like out of malice, right? It's just like an inability to fit somebody who is um you know who is sort of outside uh of what they understand to be the norm. And
Right.
it's just right, the framework of our faith just doesn't accept or allow for that kind of nuance. So okay, yeah,
Yeah.
interesting choices, thank you.
It's definitely going to be something to think about, like, and how I role play, like, my character to it. Because I was going to say the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm still here is
Mm,
I, it's just what I was born to do. I was born to be my father's replacement for the journal. I was born to, go to church. I'm obviously not doing it right, but I'm doing it. I'm not going to give up on that. So I think that my character, like, will probably be kind of dumb about um, that aspect. But I think if he's confronted on it, like if Willow actually says, "I prefer," you know, these, I think my character would kind of. I don't know. It's very hard to think about like trying to be associated with this place that uh, is so toxic. Anyway,
yeah,
but yeah,
I
that's
think
why I'm here.
I think those are things that we'll have to navigate with care and with um a lot of uh nuance and understanding. But I like it. I think it's an interesting choice. Okay. So John, you're born to be here.
My
You
house is
were
free. I live here,
you do you do you do it because it's what you do. It's
Yeah.
what's expected. Okay. Willow, any other thoughts before we
Sorry
move on?
for the
No,
cut.
no, you're good.
I think so.
Okay. Marsha.
Ooh. What keeps Marcia there? One, she needs a place in the church where she feels like she belongs, like she wants to be part of that inner circle. And she's hoping that this church will kind of turn into, how Lakewood is? It's so popular, it's on TV, that, this church becomes like that. And then maybe like her hometown will like see her on TV and be like, oh, she's part of that church and part of that group. And She wants to make them envy her.
That like makes my heart hurt. That's like fucking Marsha, man. I can already tell. I don't know. I already feel Marsha's gonna be fucking deranged, and I'm gonna love every moment of it.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that makes sense. I think there is. Oh yeah, it's giving kind of like misery, right? Like, right? Like that
Kathy Bates vibes.
Yeah, Kathy Bates.
100%. Oh my god, you said it.
Like sort of vulnerable and in pain and like wronged by the world for sure. And then willing and capable of anything. So I love that. It's very interesting. Okay. So I kind of wanted to see if there were any questions, concerns, thoughts, worries, ideas, anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about.
We covered everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am very impressed and excited by everybody's choices and ideas. At first, I was like, man, I don't know what am I bringing to the table? Is anybody gonna vibe with this theme? And y'all are like
I think we
freaky.
vibed.
Yeah, you're like freaky little weird terror gremlins, and
I also watch religious podcasts.
Eggs and training.
yeah. So I think this is gonna be great. Anything else before we I mean it's early, but session 0 usually ends a little bit early for folks. Anything else before we sign off?
I don't think so.
Well, thanks for folks in the chat that were commenting and watching, and we will see you next Thursday for session 1 of Hymns of the Heretics. Bye.